What up, friends? These are my friends on Periscope. You get there through Twitter. I'm at Robin Black MMA on Twitter. Sorry about that cable, guys. And these guys are on Instagram. I'm also at Robin Black MMA on Instagram. In both those places, I do a lot of 1 minute breakdowns. 1 minute breakdowns, super fun to do. Really, really fun. I love doing them. Also, here on the YouTube channel, we do a lot. I'm holding this because if I'm over here, you probably can't hear me, right? Table's not the appropriate height. We'll work on that. I'll figure that out. We used to put records here. But here on the YouTube channel, we do a lot of like really long form stuff. Sometimes, what's the longest we've ever talked about one fight? For sure, well over an hour. In fact, Conor McGregor, when we were trying to find different perspectives of how, my task was, how could this guy win? And so I think I spent about 6 hours in different ones on that one. So we do long form videos. I'm already talking for 45 seconds here. But what we're trying to do is a 3 to 5 minute video of Frankie Edgar versus Cub Swanson. Then we will do an extended one later. This is not working out well, Mark. I've already wasted a ton of time. Anyways, Frankie and Cub, what are some of the details at play? You must examine the aspect of what is a rematch. Now, what is a rematch? We know you fight the same guy and you fight it again. But what is it for you? What is it for the individuals in the rematch? This is where the flaws of some of our ways of comparing fights and fighters show. Because if Frankie's a better wrestler and he's got better jiu-jitsu and he's more dominant on top, therefore Cub will be squashed down and will get beat up and submitted. Well, that did happen. Does that mean it will happen again? Well, if you're Frankie, you'd like to believe it would. But what Cub will have done, and I spent some time with him in Albuquerque, and I was watching him train and watching him do 2 sessions a day. And, of course, after that fight, and I spoke to him quite a bit after that fight, he's thankful for that. You're thankful for that loss because it pointed to him a weakness in the game. One, when you're squashed underneath somebody getting elbowed and smashed in the face, obviously you decipher that getting back up is a skill I better develop, or getting back to guard and attacking. When you keep getting taken down, you're like, I shouldn't be getting taken down. And when he keeps getting a hold of you, he shouldn't be getting a hold of me. So the Cub Swanson game, which is what we've seen, why is he my favorite fighter? He's my very favorite fighter. The same reason that certain people like a particular guitar player. You know, they all play guitar. Everybody's playing rock music, but there's a feel. There's a way that they express. And Cub's way is very interesting. I'm old. But there were a lot of bands around, like the Grateful Dead, which I wasn't around for. That's my parents' era, I believe. Who was that guy? Dave Matthews Band and Fish. Mark, you were into all that. You're a stoner. No, Mark likes hip-hop. But those bands, people would follow them around and watch them show after show after show after show. And why would they do that? It's because although they played the same songs, they're their songs, they played them differently all the time. They played different solos. They experimented. They explored within them. The instrumentation worked differently. Sometimes they were longer. Sometimes they were shorter. Sometimes they were more ferocious. Sometimes they were more flowy. They explored their art as they express it. That's what jazz players do. I don't use jazz as an example because I don't really like jazz. That's what Cub Swanson does, and that's what makes him special. Is the ability that's his left hand, and that is his kick, that is his right hand, and that is his low kick, and that's how he throws his cartwheel kick and so forth. But as he does it, they're contextual to the moment, to what's necessary, to what feels right, to the way he wants to express himself honestly while fighting. That, for him, that sense of freedom, the thing he seems to enjoy about fighting, in that moment where you watch him in Doo Ho Choi, that works, of course, best at distance, where you can move and be free. He has had to go back and find that same joy in the areas where you have no space, or you have very little space, or space is coming and going. And there are times you see in the Dennis Seaver fight where he was very explorative in grappling as well. So that's what he needs. That's what he wants to do. That's what he looks to do. That's what makes him special. Frankie, of course, as great as he is at everything, he wants to take that away. And that's how he won that last fight. And what's at play in this one? That very, very game again. The same thing, and this is the fight that we see in almost all of the top-level matchups. If Al can keep space, Khabib will have to fight him at distance. It's not about stopping a takedown or getting back to the feet, ideally. It's about not having him able to close space at all. That's the Cub game. And he will have improved all of that and is even better at that. But he also then, you must accept the reality that he will get a hold of you. You need to win that fight too. So this fight at its root is about the improvements that these guys have made. At its root is about the improvements that these guys have made. And, you know, we're just exploring that concept. I can't tell you if Cub will stop the takedowns. I can't tell you if Frankie's even better at that game. If Frankie will feel that dominant. He finished Cub at like 457 or something like that of round 5. That was a long, tough night for Cub Swanson. He needs to be free of that. And Frankie wants to fight in close distance. Frankie also, I don't know. We're probably 7 or 8 minutes. This was supposed to be a short, brief time. You know what? This is just the extended break, the extended fight preview. How's that? We'll work on this. It's a mindset for me too to find, because this is what I love to do. I love to explore these things. So yes, this is the extended version. There will be no short version this week. There'll be a 1 minute or 2 up on Instagram. So Frankie, what else do we have to deal with since now we are free to make this the extended one? Frankie's never been knocked out before. Never. So we've seen this many times. Yeah, before that. So Frankie had never been knocked out before that. So now he is coming off. He's never had a fight where he has been knocked out previously. Every fight he's ever had, he could walk into that fight and say, I've never been knocked out. And it was true. It was 100% true. I've never been knocked out. That is no longer true because Brian Ortega knocked him out, finished him. And so now that's different. He's a very high-level guy. He's a very smart guy. He's a very driven guy. We would expect him to deal with that reality. It's when they don't deal with it. And trust me, I am not one to pick on Ronda Rousey. I'm a big fan. I am truly a big fan of who she is. And we are all a product of what we've learned. But the feeling of avoidance of the truth is a tough one. And don't judge somebody. You do it all the time. Everybody does this. You avoid the truth. If fucking haven't paid your taxes, oh fuck, I don't want to think about it. Or, you know, you're late for something, or you should have sent that email or whatever. We do shit all the time. All of us. We should not judge. And we do it, oh fuck, you should have called my mom back. Like, we do it in all walks of life. Fighting is no different. Your career is no different. Striving to be great is no different. Yes, sir. So what it seems like, because we don't know what Ronda did, we don't know anything about what she did. We saw very little. In fact, she, by design, made sure we saw little. So we assume, we make assumptions. Sorry, I'm going on a Ronda tangent, but I'll make it make sense. We make assumptions that means she's avoiding it. It doesn't. But if she avoided it, would be one possible explanation to then come in and it not go well again. If you accept it, you deal with it, you face it, and to do that is a lot of emotional labor. When you fail badly, for somebody who doesn't fail a lot, it's hard. You have to deal with it, treat it with the respect that it deserves, admit it, and move on. I think Justin Gaethje did that after the Eddie Alvarez fight. And I think Frankie will have done that too. He's a very smart guy. Since this is a long form, we can do what we want, we should probably touch on Frankie and coming back too soon. Now, if you ask me my opinion about that, usually what I will give you, the answer I will give you is I have no opinion about that. And the reason I will give you that is because I know that I don't know nearly 1/1000th of the information that I need to know to make that assumption. Now, to that, one might say, yeah, but we saw Mike Bisping come back and he got knocked out. Could be unrelated. Mike Bisping could have been perfect. We don't know. Correlation and causation are not the same things. You know, who is better equipped to judge Frankie Edgar's ability to return to his job? The neuroscientist who does the brain scans, the doctors, independent of the UFC, the commissioned doctors who examine those brain scans to look at what is a healthy brain, the coaches, Mark Henry and Ricardo Almeida, and coaches who have been around hundreds, thousands of high-level athletes and know what they're looking at and care about Frankie. Frankie's rich, okay? By all us normal people standards, Frankie is rich. I don't know how much money he has, but it's in the millions. And I went to his gym in Toms River, and it's a little town, that house of his, I don't know what it looks like, but it's not like buying a house in London, England. You know what I mean? The feeling that you get is that I get, is that Frankie has everything he could possibly need. I'm sure he bought his family a house. That gym is paid for. Frankie doesn't need money, and he doesn't seem motivated by money. So it's not like he's coming back for some bizarre other reason. He also doesn't seem desperate for attention. He fights because he loves to fight. So when we can eliminate all of those reasons, he's motivated by wanting to fight. Now, that doesn't mean that he couldn't go in too soon, but it does mean that all the coaches and the people around him who love him know he doesn't need all these other things. So they'll be ultra protective of him. They will err on the side of caution to such a degree that there's no way fucking Frankie Edgar is coming back unless he's 100% healthy, neurologically healthy. And I have a sense of what neurological health is from studying the fight game and being around Dr. Stu McGill and some Dr. Faisal and some of these people who have deep dove into it. And at the same time, without any amount of knowledge I've gathered, I know that I'm not a fucking neurosurgeon, neuroscientist, brain surgeon. I'm not any of those things. I also know that anecdotal evidence that, oh man, this guy got knocked out, that's too soon. We don't know what the fuck we're talking about is basically what I am telling you. But what I can tell you is that he has been examined by the highest level of neuroscientists. His brain has been examined with the lifetime of everything that humans know about brains. His has been looked at with all of that knowledge, trying to be overly protective of him. And they decided he could come back. So trust me, Frankie Edgar is good to come back. And I don't say this for any reason. I don't have any motive. I'm just trying to peel back to get us to the point where we're looking at truths. One of the big truths that we do when we look at things we love, fighting and sports and Van Halen and whatever, is we believe that our opinions, which are often of almost no education whatsoever, are educated. But when people say Frankie's coming back too soon, they literally have no knowledge about how the brain works in these situations or the work that's been done to make sure he's good. So that's a long way to get to this point, but trust me, Frankie's fucking good. So what we end up with is a fight between two guys in health. Frankie, that's another thing. He's had all kinds of body things that are, capable of allowing him to fight, but still not at his best. And that is a line you don't cross with the brain. But it's one with knees and elbows and stuff where doctors have these tests that they do on you. They go in and I've had them. I had 9 pro fights. So I'm like, they'll check you for hernias, and they can feel that. They'll test your hand like this. If you got a broken hand, I don't care how fucking tough you are, you can scream, right? And then they make you do certain things, push-ups and different stuff, and they look at how your body moves. A tough motherfucker like Frankie Edgar or Michael Bisping or any of these guys, they can trick some of those. They can. They have the ability to do that. I can't, because you're going to find out that when my shoulder doesn't work, I'm going to wobble on that thing, and the doctor will be like, what's up? He'll do a second test, and he'll pull up and down on it, and you'll be able to, I have a bad labrum and rotator cuff, and he'll know it. But Frankie's going to have that stone face, so he can trick that, but you can't trick the brain. So you can't trick the brain scan. You can't trick the neuroscientists. They're either going to let you or they're not. So he's good to go. And they're both in good health, and they're both very different fighters than they were. And so that's what's at play. That's why we're watching it. They're not Frankie versus Cub. What you saw, they are two totally different individuals. They've everything that they've learned, every piece of experience, everything that they know. And in what ways are they? Well, there's good and bad that come with all of those things. Does your body move like it used to move back then? And I say this because I'm able to study some of the work that Cub does on a little higher level than I can with Frankie, although I do get a lot of input from his team who are friends, and Mark Henry's been really good to me, and their whole team has. But Cub is a much better version of himself than he was, skill-wise, but also in his comfort and confidence and his ability to freely express himself. He's at another level than he was there. I assume that Frankie Edgar, whose life has been just a non-stop sort of expression of growth from the time that he was a young kid, I expect him to as well. But there is a time where your body physically starts to slow down or change. And when that happens, what you're hoping is that you lose a little bit with the technical and the physical and some of the attributes, but you gain a lot with knowledge and choice and the ability to be comfortable and stuff. So it's a fucking amazing fight. It really is. It really, really is. I can't wait. I'm super jazzed for both of these guys. I did a breakdown of Frankie Edgar knocking out someone. Chad Mendes. It's on my Instagram page. Neurophysiology is not dependent on grit. Yes. No, Dry Red here says Frankie's tough, but neurophysiology is not dependent on grit. No, it's dependent on neurophysiology, which is how they've examined his brain. They have, and thank you for your team. He said my 2 cents. Thank you for your 2 cents. My point is, toughness, grit, heart does not affect the neurology. It doesn't. You can't will yourself to be neurologically sounder. But they've tested. They've tested his brain. They've tested his brain extensively. He would not be cleared to fight if they hadn't. So, are there changes to his brain? Yes, and this is a challenging thing that we discuss, but it's something we do discuss because it's truthful, and we try to be truthful talking about fighting because it matters to us. There's a certain amount of contact one should take to the head, and that amount is none. It really is. But I have friends that are my friend Dr. Faisal Raymond. He is a doctor, elite doctor at the university in London, and he fights because you understand that there's a lot of things that can be harmful to us, but we live in a free society where we get the chance to do what we love or do what we want to do or do what we choose to do. And so we fight. And it affects you, but you are not allowed to fight unless you have had your brain examined by a number of different tests and EKG or whatever. EKG is a heart. That's electrocardiogram, right? I forget. Anyways, I've had them all done. They put you in a thing, they fucking scan your brain, and experts go in and look at it and decide that you're able to fight. And that's Frankie Edgar. But I love the fight. At its root, what you end up getting is, we do spend a lot of time, and I do it. YouTube and Instagram and Twitter, you see my 1-minute breakdowns, but we spend a lot of time looking at, this punch, this thing, this block moved over here, slid out here. But fighting isn't 1, 2, 3 and ABC. It's do, re, mi. It is. And so in the end, all of our theory, tomorrow, depending on when you watch this, might be up right now, we're going to look at Edson Barbosa versus Kevin Lee. We're not going to talk about that now other than this. Edson Barbosa is going to chew up Kevin Lee's legs. I mean, if I can tweet that, what the fuck do you think Kevin Lee's doing about that? You know what I mean? So we spend a lot of time, and like I said, I do too. I love doing these breakdowns. It's fucking fun. Carlos Condit threw this kick and threw a flying knee. I fucking love doing it. But fighting is so much more than that. It is an expression in these moments of the truth of what's happening between these two people, physically, mentally, spiritually. And that's what we have to see. That's what we're waiting for, and that's what we're going to see. And, it isn't just boxing, wrestling, and jiu-jitsu. It's not. It is so much more than that. Did Frankie Edgar spend his lifetime wrestling? Yes, he did. Is Cub Swanson a black belt in jiu-jitsu? Yes, he is. Is Cub Swanson innovative in space? Can he, manage the range in such a way? Yeah. But it's more than that. It's so much more than that. And I can't wait. I don't know where I'm going to be this weekend. I don't have to work, so I don't know where I'm going to be, but I'm going to be somewhere fucking just like this. These two fights and fights like this are the ones, I love them all, but these are the ones that feel like they're for me. I was there when Cub fought Doo Ho Choi. I got to, talk to him within 20 minutes after. It's on YouTube. And I talked to Greg Jackson that night too. And I saw Doo Ho Choi, that fucking tough son of a... just, on his girl, who's just a sweet girl and so supportive of him and his team, and just going through there. And Kelvin Gastelum that night, he fought that Tim Kennedy. Holy fuck, most people would not walk out after that. Tim Kennedy, who I've always liked, good enough, but you see him walking under his own power. They wouldn't normally let you walk under your own power. The fucking Kelvin laid a fucking beating on that man. And those fights like these, you remind yourself, these are special, unique, rare moments in time. Don't get caught up in, there's another one next weekend, or what's next for this guy. And, don't get caught up in these dialogues that understate the specialness of people dedicating their life to this moment for you. It's going to be fucking epic. I shave my arms because I have tattoos, and people with tattoos often do that. If I had hair, they'd be standing up because I'm fucking jazzed. But let's leave it at that. I hope I gave you something to think about. And if you are listening on iTunes or Stitcher or any of those, we're going to put some extra close focus on our podcasting over the next couple months. And we really appreciate you guys. And follow me on Twitter and Instagram. It's at RobinBlackMMA. And if you want a t-shirt that says Hot Lava or Enjoy the Hostilities or what's my other one? Flim Flam. Go to shoprobinblack.com. All right, thanks, guys. We'll be back to do a little more analysis this week, and I'll probably pop up a couple of times with some more thoughts on these fights. But until then, enjoy the hostilities, my friends.